On Business News tonight, Nigeria's Purchasing Managers Index rose marginally to 51.1 in April from 51.0 in March, marking a fifth consecutive monthly increase.
On sports news tonight, women's world number one Ijaw cruised through to a second consecutive Madrid Open final with a straight set victory over American Madison Keys.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, windstorm destroys properties worth millions of naira in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital.
And in international news from London, police officers are dismantling barricades at the pro-Palestinian protest at the University of California in Los Angeles.
Two years after the deadly attack on an Abuja-Kaduna train that left at least 9 persons dead, the police say they have arrested the alleged mastermind of that attack. Addressing a news conference in Kaduna, the Force Public Relations Officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, says the suspect, Ibrahim Abdullahi, who was arrested at the Abuja-Kaduna highway, confessed to being the leader of a kidnap syndicate that has been terrorizing the highway, the Abuja-Kaduna highway, that is. Now, the Force PRO adds that the suspect had participated in various kidnappings, including the incident at Greenfield University in 2021.
Ensuring a safer highway is the objective of this area patrol. Nigeria Police Force says it's determined and will continue to comb the Abuja-Kaduna highway and rail tracks and indeed every nook and cranny for criminals. With the patrol over, the police parade suspects, including the alleged mastermind of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack, Ibrahim Abdullahi, who is the leader of a kidnap syndicate terrorizing passengers plying the Abuja-Kaduna highway.
The same thing. This set of people are those that are attacking our power generation plants.
At a news conference in Kaduna, the police public relations officer explains how the suspect was arrested.
You will recollect that on 12 January 2024, police operatives attached to anti-kidnapping unit of Kaduna State Criminal Investigation Department, CID, based on credible information, swept in and arrested one Ibrahim Abdullahi, a.k.a. Mande, at Abuja-Kaduna Road, flyover by Rido Junction. The suspect confessed to being the leader of a kidnap syndicate terrorizing Kaduna-Abuja highway, ranked among other criminals like Dogo Gide and Bello Toji.
The police reel out statistics of other suspects arrested from January 2024 to date.
On February 29, 2024, vigilant operatives of the Kaduna Command Monitoring Unit conducted a well-coordinated operations at the residence of a suspected kidnapper. On 7th of April 2024, police operatives attached to the Force Intelligence Department Special Tactical Squad in Abuja, in collaboration with Operation Yaki operatives in Kaduna Command, arrested one Abubakar Umar, aged 20 years. Please mark the age or ages of some of the suspects we are showcasing today.
On March the 28th, 2022, suspected terrorists bombed the Abuja-Kaduna rail tracks. The train derailed after an improvised explosive device planted by the terrorists exploded underneath one of the coaches. The terrorists surrounded the train, shooting sporadically and killing 9 passengers, after which over 100 others were abducted.
Meanwhile, the military has announced its preparedness to court-martial 2 of its officers over the airstrike that was carried out on Tudumbiri village in Kaduna State in December 2023, which led to the death of several civilians. Addressing journalists in Abuja on the activities of the armed forces in the fight against insurgency, the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, says the drone attack which occurred when the villagers were celebrating the birth of Prophet Muhammad was a mistake, which the military is not prepared to condone. General Buba also read the Right Act to members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, as he assures residents of the southeast that the sit-at-home order is now a thing of the past.
The military has conducted a painstaking investigation into the Tudumbiri incident that occurred in Kaduna State and has initiated disciplinary action against those that we found culpable. Accordingly, the affected personnel are to face a court-martial for acts of omission or commission with respect to the Tudumbiri incident. I'm, however, constrained to speak much about the incident as it will be adjudged as prejudicial, being a case before a court-martial. However, it must be made clear that the incident was a mistake and the victims of the strike were mistaken for terrorists.
Mark of our relationship since we assumed office. It says the existing goodwill, harmony, and collaboration between our government's executive and legislative
were mistaken for terrorists.
It has been the hallmark of our relationship.
And still on security issues, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, says the Army is reviewing some of the strategies used in tackling security challenges in the country. General Lagbaja was speaking during an operational tour of the 23 Brigade of the Nigerian Army formations in Yola, the Adamawa state capital. According to him, the security challenges being experienced across the country are multifaceted, cutting across the country's geopolitical zones.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, arrives at the headquarters of the 23 Brigade of the Nigerian Army in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, in the company of some senior army officials, and is received by the Brigade Commander, 23 Brigade, Brigadier General Paul Zawaya. He immediately proceeds to inspect a guard of honor before going into a closed-door meeting with the officers at the theater of operations. This operational visit is to interact with officers and troops of the 23 Brigade. The Army Chief acknowledges the commitment of the soldiers, but urges them to remain professional in their duties.
The Army is in the process of transformation, and the current government is supporting this transformational drive. The Army Aviation is coming on stream. We are trying to see if quickly we can get some of the assets on the ground before the NASA celebration in July. And there are so many other areas the government is intervening. So for the government that has done this much, you need to reciprocate as good troops. So I want to enjoin you, and I want to encourage you that you must be unrelenting in the discharge of your duties. Is that clear? Yes, sir.
Speaking to journalists shortly after, Lieutenant General Lagbaja reiterates the commitment of the Nigerian Army in protecting the territorial integrity of the country.
The assurances are that with the support we are receiving from Mr. President and the current government, I mentioned the fact that we're expecting some critical combat enablers in the coming weeks. The Army Aviation will soon come on stream, and even on the administrative front, we have received a lot of support from Mr. President. Putting all this together, they will help to improve the morale of our troops, and from the feedback I'm receiving, the troops are ready to go and are ready to give their very best. In the foreseeable future, I see the security situation across Nigeria improving tremendously, so that Nigerians can sleep with their two eyes closed and can travel without being kidnapped along our highways.
The final engagement for the Army Chief is a meeting with Governor Ahmadu Fintiri, who receives him in his office.
And now to security of the nation's capital, where the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, has expressed the readiness of his ministry to adopt drone technology to enhance security in the nation's capital. This announcement was made during the courtesy visit by InDrive, the Consul General of the Embassy of Hungary in Nigeria, at Mr. Wike's office in Abuja. Emphasizing that security is a top priority for his administration, The minister revealed that the procurement process for drones has already commenced. He also reiterated his administration's commitment to exploring opportunities in the agricultural sector to create jobs and address food security challenges.
Security has been an issue, but by the grace of God, we've been able to reduce the level of insecurity. You can attest to the fact that Abuja is safer now.
Yes.
Because
Indeed.
of the way we have been able to tackle the issue. Luckily for us, it is a part of our procurement process to have drones. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert. So the security people who are in charge, I will let them have a discussion with our people so that they will identify the type of drones that will be effective and efficient. But whether we want to acquire some drones, yes, that is no going back. Also, the issue of agriculture is very key. Our own idea is we can collaborate and partner, like you said, in terms of PPP. We are willing to provide land, and then if you are willing to come over here to see what you can do, so it will become a symbiotic relationship, so that we can set up the process and know the kind of what we tend to produce, a lot of varieties, in order to see how we solve the problem of food security.
To security in the nation's commercial nerve center, operatives of the Lagos State Police Command have arrested about 50 suspects over a clash between hoodlums at the popular Ilepo foodstuff market in the Alimosho local government area of the state. The clash, which eyewitnesses say broke out on Wednesday night, continued till this morning as the warring thugs settled scores over an undisclosed matter. Amidst the clash, groups had set some stalls laden with goods on fire. In a statement, police spokesperson in the state, Benjamin Hundayin, explains that normalcy has since been restored to the market and over 50 suspects have been picked up from the scene of the clash, while the shanties, which serves as their means of abode, have been destroyed. The Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, CP Adigoke Fayode, has directed the prosecution of the arrested hoodlums, warning that the command will deal decisively with anyone found breaching the peace in accordance with the law. A new directive to ensure that gas travels through pipelines rather than truck transportation. Leading a delegation to the scene of a gas accident in Ogun State, the Minister of Petroleum Gas, Honorable Ekperekwe Ekpo, says the measure is the latest attempt at improving safety. This new directive means that no new license will be given to any investor or intending operator of commercial gas distribution except they can guarantee capacity to pipe the commodity.
This is the scene of the last week's accident at Itoshi in Abuja-Kaduna, Ogun State, involving a truck conveying compressed natural gas, CNG. Perhaps unsatisfied with the tragedy, especially since it concerns CNG and energy transition fuel, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has dispatched a team led by the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Gas, Honorable Ekperekwe Ekpo. They are received initially by the Ogun State Deputy Governor, who conducts them at the scene. Since it's an investigation, it's important to see the burnt truck and run some professional eye. But what could have gone wrong? There are administered safety measures to such haulage, since the truck also runs on CNG as fuel.
We had a meeting with SONS.
The cylinders it was conveying are intact, which isolates the suspicion on possibly the CNG bottles as the source of fire.
It's not to say that we get discouraged or not. CNG is still the transition fuel for mobility, and we believe this will still stay on course. Accident can happen, just like the Honorable Minister said, truck exploded in Port Harcourt. So we have to look at that as well. Whether the standard of the trucks that caused the accident or incidents or what. But in terms of CNG transition, I believe is the way to go. We should not be discouraged.
Ogun State has over 6,000 industries and companies. It's also the first state in Nigeria to domesticate the energy transition program of the federal government and a hub of gas reticulation, prompting the team to also stop by one of the gas plants where safety audit is underway. For starters, a new rule of engagement has to be effected.
This is a wake-up call to you and to us that we should rise up to the challenge of the day. Involve the standard organization, the regulators, to make sure that whatsoever is used in our vehicles are up to standard so that we don't have a recurrence of this. I have directed the authority chief executive, any further issuance of license, the company should be competent enough to pipe it to their end users so that we are not exposed to this kind of danger any longer.
The Ogun State Governor, Dr. Abiodun, lends his voice to a thorough investigation as he welcomes the federal government's delegations to his office.
We are going to put in place a policy to ensure that we enforce the roadworthiness of those trucks, and at least that is removed from the equation. And then you need to look at issues around standards that will govern, quality and assure us of the quality of, the gas cylinders.
When it all comes down, the Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON, Federal Road Safety Commission, FRSC, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Gas, the NMDPRA, and all operators have strict compliance roles to play and enforce, as gas accidents can be devastating. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Let's head to the nation's capital now, and Gloria Omezoke is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Gloria.
Thank you, Ayo. Here in Abuja, we begin in Taraba State, where properties worth millions of naira, including houses, business centers, electric poles and schools, have been destroyed by a windstorm in Jalingo, the state capital, accompanied by a heavy downpour. The situation has exacerbated the challenge of water scarcity, occasioned by lack of power supply in Taraba, Adamawa and Gombe states.
Carnage caused by a windstorm accompanied by a heavy downpour. Properties worth millions, including homes, businesses, electric poles and schools in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital, damaged. The residents tell how they could do nothing but watch helplessly as the windstorm destroyed their properties.
When the rain was about to fall, the breeze just came on and began to blow. All of us were there with the children, and the breeze just took off the roof and threw it at the back of the rope of this NEPA wire.
The government says it's aware of the devastation and is taking stock to ensure that those affected get the needed support. According to the government, over 2 million economic trees are being planted across the 16 local government areas to curb the growing danger.
What we did as a first response or responders is to direct our disaster managers and above all emergency response team to go around and take inventory of all those areas that are affected by this natural disaster. That's the first step, because that is the only way we will definitely come up with what needs to be done for them.
This natural occurrence has compounded a no power, no water situation in the state capital, Jalingo. The residents say for more than a week they have been grappling with the no-power situation, which has crippled economic activities and forced them to depend on generating set despite the hike in the pump price of petrol. They have also had to depend only on water trucks for their daily supply of water. According to the management of the Yola Electricity Distribution Company, the lack of power supply is due to the vandalism of electricity infrastructure between just the Plateau State capital and Gombe State, which has plunged states like Gombe, Adamawa and Taraba into total darkness for over a week.
We are suffering to get water here, and I think it is due to lack of power supply. In the cemetery where I work, most times we do not know what to do due to lack of water supply. And in some instances, people volunteer. How much is fuel? We run into losses daily.
4 local government areas of Takum, Donga, Wukari and Jalingo have been affected by the windstorm, and the residents are appealing that attention be paid to the flawed prediction of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency.
The anti-corruption war is a fight against for all Nigerians, and all must join hands to kick against deliberate attempts by enablers of corruption seeking to truncate the efforts made by anti-corruption agencies. This is the position of civil society groups at a joint press briefing in Abuja. Our correspondent Victoria Longjohn reports that the groups urged the federal government to adequately allocate funding to anti-corruption agencies and address issues of judicial corruption, amongst other recommendations.
Corruption poses a significant obstacle in establishing effective governance structures in Nigeria. Decades of looted funds and diversion of public resources have impeded the nation's capacity to develop. This joint press conference of civil society organizations on anti-corruption and good governance seeks to highlight the state of corruption and malicious attacks on anti-corruption agencies in Nigeria.
This is why we think that we have to join hands at local, state and national level to fight corruption and strengthen our anti-corruption institutions who are under attack by enablers and the corrupt people who do not want to be investigated, who do not want to be accountable. That is not the aspiration that Nigerian people have, and that was not what Nigerian people have fought for democracy.
There has been a concerted war by corrupt people in public office in Nigeria to make sure anti-corruption agencies are unable or prevented from prosecuting corrupt individuals. We must stop this level of corruption from continuing to grow if we are to survive as a country.
The groups agree that there's been a deliberate attempt by enablers of corruption to discourage efforts by anti-corruption agencies and urge the federal government to address the situation.
We urge the ruling All Progressives Congress party and other political parties to take decisive action in purging its ranks by denouncing and breaking support with their members who are currently being investigated by anti-corruption agencies. It is essential to prioritize adequate funding and support for anti-corruption agencies to prevent corruption and promote accountability. Through this, the present administration will demonstrate its commitment to fighting corruption.
The takeaway here is that if Nigeria's democracy must succeed, it is crucial to adopt a cohesive strategy that addresses all elements to strengthen the fight against corruption. Victoria Longjohn for Channels Television News.
The Vice President, Kashim Shettima, says policy decisions taken by the Tinubu administration are already yielding results. He stated this at a round-table event held in Abuja, where he implored Nigerians to be patient with the president as he steers the ship of the state through the economic turbulence he met on ground. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Vice President Kashim Shettima is here to discuss how the economic and social agenda of President Bola Tinubu is reforming Nigeria.
His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima.
The roundtable meeting has in attendance the Minister of Information, Mr. Mohammed Idris, former Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mr. Shamsuddin Usman, heads of media agencies and professionals, among others. The Vice President tells the audience that though the decision to remove fuel subsidy and unify exchange rates was quite tough, it's impacting on the economy positively.
Our brothers in charge of the CBN, Mr. Amy Cardoso, and the NSA, Madam Nuhu Ribadu, had to take matters into their hands to neutralize the overpowering influence of currency manipulators who had conspired to frustrate our reforms. Today, I stand proud to say that their interventions have translated into desired results, and Naira's pushback against all odds is an inspiring journey that doesn't have to be learned in Buenos Aires, as some will want us to do.
a month after the withdrawal of the fuel subsidy. We had to warehouse some of the excess revenue collected to avoid overheating the economy. That goes to show that there is a hope for a better tomorrow for this country.
He also notes that the administration has taken steps to tackle economic saboteurs.
Our promise is to wage war against corruption without interference or favoritism is being fulfilled. The ongoing high-profile cases indicate a new era of accountability. The administration's revenue drive is on track to deliver outstanding results with the continued digitization of revenue collection in all ministries, departments, and agencies.
The chairman of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, however, wants the government to ensure office holders are held accountable.
During the presidential retreat, President Tinubu said to the ministers and other government officials, you either deliver results or get sacked. That's the next test. He needs to make 1 or 2 examples.
Other new initiatives Vice President Kashim Shettima says the Tinubu government has undertaken are in the area of creative arts, steel and solid minerals, housing sector, the blue economy and the digital sector, among others. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's Purchasing Managers Index rises to 51.1 in April from 51.0, marking a 5th consecutive monthly increase. That's on Business News. Please join us again. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, as well as the Minister of Sports Development, are forging a partnership that will enhance sports development and promote national cohesion. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, revealed this when he hosted the Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Eno, at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja. The Mr. Idris also commended the efforts of the Sports Ministry towards national unity.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, is meeting with the Minister of Sports Development, permanent secretaries, and directors from the sports ministries towards a partnership. Clapping, singing. It so happens that today is the birthday of Mr. Mohammed Idris.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. The Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Eno, outlines the reasons for the visit.
It does seem to me that together we're going to agree on a national emergency between the 2 ministries for the coverage of our sports. It's so important. I mean, if you cast your mind back to the early days of this year, when Nigeria was participating in AFCON, you will appreciate what power sports plays.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation responds with a commendation for the Sports Ministry and its leadership for all the efforts towards unity.
I've seen so much that has happened. Of note is the high point was a few weeks or months ago when the Super Eagles were on the verge of bringing the cup here for the first time in a long time. And I recall that while you were there with them, I joined Mr. President with a few other ministers, waiting anxiously to see that cup indeed did come. You didn't bring the first place, but you brought the second place.
The minister then announces his plan for partnership.
Sports cannot win in this country. We need it not just for the economic development of this country, but for the unity, for the togetherness that will partner with you. In fact, we need to set up a small committee between your ministry and our ministry to look at areas of collaboration.
Through this collaboration, the ministries aim to enhance national integration and ensure comprehensive coverage of sports development across the country.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's over now to you, Ijaw, for more on the news at 10.
Thank you so much, Gloria. The absence of the headquarters of international oil companies in the states they produce oil from, especially the Niger Delta region, remains a source of concern for the people of the region. The latest outcry is coming from the Ijaw National Congress, which has met with the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board on the issue.
The relocation of the head offices of the international oil companies to the Niger Delta region remains one of the cardinal demands of communities in the oil-producing area. This time, the agitation is coming from Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, where the leadership of the Ijaw National Congress and the management of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board are meeting to discuss the matter.
By your critical interventions,
for the president of the INC, if the region is safe for drilling, then it is safe for companies' operational headquarters.
We know this is between the purview of the federal government. Talking about the relocation of the headquarters of the IOCs to the Niger Delta. You are monitoring, evaluating the activities of these IOCs. One of the persistent worries we had all over is the fact that these oil companies who make their money here don't spend their money here. It affects the revenue of the states, the local government areas, even the revenue of the communities. We know how Warri was booming.
The NCDMB executive secretary believes stakeholders in the region need to work together to create an enabling environment for the IOCs.
For Niger Delta to grow, to become a great area of this country, we all have to work together as a team and as brothers and sisters and create enabling environment, peace. That's the only way we can grow. And without peace, we can't grow. And no nation in Nigeria that can grow alone without the neighbor. So we must stretch hands out to each other and work as a team.
Although the international oil companies have said they already maintain operations in the region, the repeated calls for their relocation remain unabated as the communities believe the move would boost the economy of the region.
To many, InDrive is an international ride-hailing service, but the owners say it also serves as a driver of transparency, fairness, and innovative use of technology to challenge injustice and impact lives. These foundational values are aptly captured in Inner Driver, a documentary that tells a compelling story of how the inner driver of individuals can connect them to their opportunities. At an exclusive global premiere in Lagos, the InDrive documentary offered audiences a rare glimpse into the heart and soul of the company.
Inner Drive, a documentary film produced as part of the global mission of InDrive, is unveiled for the first time in Nigeria. A select audience made up of the cast and crew, partners and influencers will be the first to see it at this private screening.
That was how InDrive started, because you know how it works.
Senior business development representative at InDrive explains that the film is about connecting people to their purpose.
I want to believe that a lot of people know about our product and services, from the city ride to the intercity ride, to the freight and the courier and different things, as well as the Begin IT, which is one of the stories I will be telling with the documentary titled Inner Drive.
Many years later, I realized that it was fraud singing.
A collaboration of 5 directors across the world. The documentary tells InDrive's story person by person, from Arsen Tomsky, the company's visionary CEO, who overcomes challenges to take an idea to the world, to the employees who come on board to help InDrive evolve and fueled by shared values and a common goal.
We are reimagining capitalism, number one, and we are also putting the power back into the hands of people. And these two things have been able to achieve product market fit through our product, and we've seen how people establish connection within people.
Amongst the heartwarming tales, The film follows the journey of Obadiah, a 15-year-old Nigerian boy once enveloped in the despair of his surroundings. InDrive's Begin It initiative is now paving the way for a brighter future for Obadiah and many others.
Teach them ICT, teach them how to program using an online-based platform. So we give them an international standard of coding so that they can be able to compete with their age mates and their friends anywhere in the world.
They wanted to shoot in different regions of the world where they have made an impact, and their project for Begin It, one of the places that they're working is here in Nigeria. So they wanted to showcase Nigeria, and we chose Obadiah, who's one of the students, his story, to put a human face to their Begin It project.
InDrive operates in 749 cities in 46 countries. Driven by its mission of challenging social injustice, the company says it's committed to having a positive impact on the lives of 1 billion people by 2030.
Well, let's have more business news now with Melinda Akilami.
Many thanks, Ayotunde. Welcome to Business News. In April, Nigeria's private sector witnessed a slight easing of inflationary pressures following a steep rise in purchase costs and selling prices in March. As a result, the Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, rose marginally to 51.1 from 51.0 in March, signaling a fifth consecutive month of improved business conditions. According to the latest Purchasing Managers Index, PMI report by Stanbic IBTC Bank. Factors such as currency fluctuations heavily influence prices, leading to slower growth in purchase prices and output charges, though inflation remains significant. Despite the slowdown in inflation across all sectors covered by the survey, it continued to hamper output and new orders, which remain stagnant compared to the previous month. While agriculture and manufacturing sectors experienced notable output growth, services activity declined. Though employee expenses increased modestly, overall, employment remained stable, with some firms reducing staff due to cost pressures. Despite challenges, raising new orders led to modest expansion in purchasing activity and inventory holdings at the start of the second quarter. Meanwhile, sentiment dipped from March, remaining historically low despite expectations of future growth driven by business expansions and higher new orders. However, over half of businesses remain optimistic about increased activity over the next year. Some company news now. Lafarge Africa PLC has held its 2023 annual general meeting in Lagos with management, investors and shareholders present. The company says it's poised to give better returns to shareholders and other stakeholders in the future as revenue grew by more than 405 billion naira.
Lafarge Africa PLC, one of the biggest players in the Nigerian cement industry, held its 2023 annual general meeting in Lagos. Without wasting time, the chairman of the company, Adebode Adefioye, declares the meeting open.
I hereby lay the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2023 and the report of directors, the auditors and the audit committee before the meeting.
Next, the chairman of the company's audit committee briefs the gathering on the outgone financial year.
The scope and planning of the audit for the year ended 31st December 2023 were adequate, and management's responses to the auditor's findings were satisfactory.
For the 2023 financial year under review, Lafarge Africa PLC recorded a revenue of 405,502,712,000 naira. Its profit before tax stands at 80,694,611,000 naira, while profit after taxes 51,141,070,000. Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Lafarge Africa PLC, Mr. Lulu Alade Akinyemi, highlights the company's efforts to sustain its growth trajectory.
Our performance in Q1, we saw solid growth. We grew solidly in Q1, and we'll continue to work on this to ensure that our products are available.
Management says it is poised to give better returns to shareholders and others in the future.
Despite of the difficult environment, the inflation, the FX difficulties, we appreciate that it is being tackled. The company is resilient. It is poised actually to give better returns.
On-time delivery, leveraging technology, to give them significant customer experience.
For the shareholders, 2023 was a good year for Lafarge Africa PLC.
It is our expectation that by 2024, we are going to also earn a better dividend than this.
Despite macroeconomic challenges, Lafarge Africa PLC recorded a 9% increase in net sales. Operations profit grew by 22% and had a cash conversion ratio of 70% in the year 2023 under review.
Listed Tier 2 lender Fidelity Bank PLC has reported an impressive surge in profit before tax (PTB) to 39.5 billion naira in the first quarter of this year. In the unaudited financial statement sent to the Nigerian Exchange, the growth in profit before taxes was 120% higher compared to the 17.9 billion naira recorded in the same period in 2023. Also, gross earnings witnessed a significant increase to 192.1 billion, marking an 89.9% year-on-year rise from 101.1 billion naira recorded in the first quarter of 2023, boosted by growth in interest and non-interest income. At the same time, total deposits increased by 17.2% to 4.7 trillion naira from 4 trillion naira in 2023. The domestic stock market resumed from the May Day holiday on a bullish note as investors took to bargain hunting. Ijaw National has the numbers.
Thank you so much, Melinda. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, it seems that the Workers' Day holiday was not able to push the bull away from the floor of the NGX, so we open and close today's trading, that's Thursday, with the bull again as the market went up 0.55% to close at 98,762.78, and 303 billion naira is what was added to the market cap to bring it up to 55.856 trillion naira at the close of trade. Who's responsible for this? The most liquid counter, or rather the kings in the most liquid counter. Yes, the kings, that's the Fugas there. FBN Holdings was up 4.6%. UBA, same percentage. GT Coal, even better, 7.03%. Access Coal, also up 3.86%. And Zenith recovered, from the last trade and went up 2.02%. So all of this, of course, is summarized in the counters. Looking at the banking counter, very exciting, 3.20%. Consumer goods up there. Dangote Sugar, after their AGM earlier this week, we see positive movement around there. Drove that sector up. Oil and gas also 0.96%. Corn oil is responsible for this. So it's a pleasant market. I hope it will close this way tomorrow. But it's still the bull on the floor of the NGX.
And thank you, Melinda. Hundreds of riot police officers in Los Angeles in the U.S. have cleared a pro-Palestinian encampment at the University of California and detained more than 100 protesters. The student-organized rallies and encampments, which began at Columbia University in New York City on April the 17th, have spread to more than 24 states and at least 6 other countries. Here's Summer Hughes with more on this and other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Police officers are dismantling barricades at the pro-Palestinian protest at the University of California in Los Angeles. Earlier, officers told the protesters to move or face arrest. The university has declared the days-long protest to be unlawful. There were violent clashes between rival groups there. Day earlier, demonstrations are continuing at dozens of universities across the United States. There have been more than 1,000 arrests in total.
What's happening on the campus is really horrific. For a number of weeks now, We've seen a tinderbox that has been, in which the risks to students have been growing. And that's because the university has not met the key responsibility it has, which is to protect the safety of its students and to make sure that all of its students have an opportunity to get the education that they deserve. And they've been failing on both counts. So I think what's happening is horrible. I think the university needs to do better.
The US has accused Russia of deploying chemical weapons as a method of warfare in Ukraine, in violation of international laws banning their use. State Department officials said Russia used the choking agent chlorofikrin to win battlefield gain over Ukraine. The allegations, which US officials said were not an isolated incident, would contravene the Chemical Weapons Convention which Russia signed. A Kremlin spokesperson rejected the accusations, calling them baseless. Riot police in Georgia fired tear gas and water cannon to disperse crowds for a second night as protests continued against a proposed law by opponents as Russian-inspired. A number of people were hurt during the protests after Parliament approved the second reading of the controversial Foreign Agents Bill on Wednesday. The EU warns it could harm Tbilisi's ambitions of joining the bloc. The European Commission head said she was watching events with great concern. The death toll from a collapsed highway in southeastern China has climbed to 48 on Thursday as searchers dug for a second day through a treacherous and mountainous area. One side of the four-lane highway in the city of Meizhou gave way about 2 a.m. on Wednesday after a month of heavy rains in Guangdong province. 23 vehicles fell down a steep slope, some sending up flames as they caught fire. Construction cranes were used to lift out the burnt-out and mutilated vehicles. Officials in Meizhou said 3 other people were unidentified pending DNA testing. It wasn't immediately clear if they had died, which would bring the death toll to 51. Cambodia has blamed factors including the heat wave gripping Southeast Asia for a deadly ammunition warehouse explosion. 20 soldiers were killed in the incident in Kampong Speu province in Cambodia on Saturday. Rejecting claims that rebellious soldiers were to blame, officials said the blast was caused by a combination of faulty munitions and extremely hot weather. Temperatures of up to 43 degrees Celsius are forecast for the country. A man charged with murdering a 14-year-old schoolboy in a sword attack in London has appeared in court. Marcus Arduini Monzo remains in police custody over the alleged attack in Hainault on Tuesday morning. Police were called to reports of a car crashing into a house and people being stabbed, Westminster Magistrates Court heard. Daniel Anjorin suffered fatal stab wounds and 4 other people, including 2 police officers, were injured. Mr. Monzo has also been charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, 2 counts of causing grievous bodily harm, aggravated burglary and of a bladed article. And scientists have produced a remarkable reconstruction of what a Neanderthal woman would have looked like when she was alive. It is based on the flattened, shattered remains of a skull whose bones were so soft when excavated that they had the consistency of a well-Duncan biscuit. Researchers first had to strengthen the fragments before reassembling them. Expert paleo-artists then created the 3D model. The representation appears in a new documentary called Scarlets of the Neanderthals, which examines what we know about our long-lost evolutionary cousins who became extinct about 40,000 years ago.
You're getting into a world where you can see Neanderthals sitting around, preparing food, heating them up, some kind of simple cooking going on, and presumably that beginning of socializing in ways. So that's just another example of the more and more like us.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Sports is now. Bayelsa State Governor Senator Doyediri has congratulated Bayelsa-born coach Finidi George on his appointment as head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria on Monday this week. The governor, who was part of the draw for the 2024 Prosperity Cup conducted earlier today at the Samson Siasia Stadium in Yenagoa, commended the Nigeria Football Federation for appointing the Yimba head coach based on merit. Governor Diri wished Finidi well and assured him that he and the state will support him and the NFF to succeed. Let's take you to the Madrid To the Spanish capital, Madrid, now, where world number one Ijaw National cruised through to his second consecutive Madrid Open final with a switch set 6-1, 6-3 victory over Madison Keys earlier today. Dominant on clay, Swiatek barely put a foot wrong, making just 8 unforced errors in the match to leave the 29-year-old American with virtually no chance.
Oh, she's not going to get to that. She's quick, Iga Swiatek. She's not quite that quick. The world number one with some magic in Madrid. And once again offers a big reminder.
Away from tennis now, in the EPL, Chelsea delivered a hammer blow to Tottenham's hopes of qualifying for the Champions League with a 2-0 win against their spluttering London rivals earlier this evening. Trevor Chalobah's first goal since March 2022 put Chelsea ahead in the first half at the Stamford Bridge. The March malign Nicholas Jackson wrapped up the points in the closing stages with his 14th goal of a difficult first season with the Blues. Let's bring you up to speed now with some games played at the UEFA Europa League. Now, Marseille's semi-final tie against Atalanta is finally paused going into the return leg after the teams drew 1-0 in their first leg in France. Gianluca Scamacca gave Atalanta an early lead to silence a huge crowd at a packed Velodrome, but Chancellor Mbappe quickly cancelled Marseille's level with a stunning strike from outside the box. In the other encounter, Bayer Leverkusen have one foot in the Europa League final after winning 2-0 at Roma to extend their remarkable unbeaten run to 47 matches. Florent Wirtz and Robert Andrich ensured victory for Xabi Alonso's men in the Italian capital. And that's Sports Tonight. I am Kelly Egigas. Back to you today for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Kelly. And the main news again. The Niger police today announced the arrest of the alleged mastermind of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack, Ibrahim Abdullahi, 2 years after the incident. The force PRO who made the announcement in Kaduna also said the suspect confessed to being the leader of a kidnap syndicate terrorizing the Abuja-Kaduna highway. And the military has concluded plans to court-martial 2 officers responsible for the December 2023 Tudunbiri airstrike that killed several civilians in the Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. That's news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Do have a good night.